Hey, Cyclone Mitch, already on. Good to see you. At least I think you are. Don't know if it popped up there. Let's see if it pops up here in a second. Get that out of the way. I've got a couple guys on the stream here already. Thank you guys for joining us today on this Casual Thursday. It's kind of become a tradition here, Casual Thursday live stream. I'll go ahead and say right now, we've already got a couple people on. That's going to be a somewhat shorter stream. Emperor of Rome, good to see you. Glad you're able to join us today on such short notice. A little bit of a shorter stream. I've got to go hit my other show at 4 o'clock. So it's about 3 o'clock here. So we probably got about an hour, 45 minutes, somewhere around there. Sit here and talk college football or anything sports with you guys. DM, I saw that you came in. Thank you for stopping by. Please come check us out later tonight. Absolutely. And once we get all of our stuff going here, we'll definitely dive on into it. But for now, man, I tell you what, I apologize for not getting this out on Twitter early enough. It's been just a hectic day, as I'm sure you guys can imagine. Just balancing schedules and other jobs. You know, we're doing this. I consider to be a job, and I've got another job off campus that I'm working, and another job outside of that I'm doing, and internships and part-time volunteer schoolwork. It all runs together. So I apologize for not putting out an alert on Twitter. I know that some people do check that for when we're going to be going live. And 9 times out of 10, I would do announce that there. Today was just a little spur of the moment deal. We knew tonight was going to be pretty hectic, so we decided to jump on, right now. You know, what better time than the present? Legalized Quack, good resume builders. Yeah, you know it. I mean, that's kind of been the goal all along. It's just to build up the resume. If I can get my laptop to work here so I can actually view some of y'all's comments, we'll be good to go. But yeah, so it's been going pretty strong right now. So we're a couple minutes into the chat now. Got 5. If you guys are coming in, hit that like button. It helps out our analytics, helps out the stats, so it goes a long way for us. And I will try to read y'all's comments as they come in, as I'm still trying to get my laptop to be working. DM mentioning first question. Prince, 6'1". Glad to see you, man. What's going on? Glad you're able to join us for a little bit. As I said, I know it's been short notice, so I'm glad you've been on. I didn't see you last stream. Didn't see you last chat, so glad you're able to pop in today. I know sometimes in the middle of the day, it's middle of the work for you guys, middle of the work day for you guys, or maybe it's middle of school for you guys. I don't know if you guys are allowed to have your phones out at school. Depends on where you go. I know my high school didn't allow me to have that. Have my phones out during class, so just depends. So I appreciate y'all jumping in on it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or wherever you are, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, wherever you're at. DM mentioned what was the biggest thing biggest difference between Division I scholarships and Division II scholarships. I mean, look, make sure I get Emperor of Rome's for you. Yeah, some of the worst names ever for minor league baseball teams. We'll jump on that in a second. But you mentioned, the difference in scholarships. There's not a huge difference there. It just comes down and comes back down to what we were talking about on Tuesday night was not necessarily talent, but a Division II scholarship, you can still offer somebody a full ride to that school, or you can still offer someone, whatever you want to do just to come play football or basketball or whatever to a Division II school versus a Division I school. I think it comes down to I had a bunch of guys from my high school that were talented athletes, more talented than I am in that realm, but they weren't good enough to go play like D1, in the SEC or even like a Sun Belt school or something like that. They were playing a very lower level. They were still playing college football. It just was a lower level school, but they were getting offered scholarships to go play there, and they were of course in state. And I'm not going to list the names because y'all probably wouldn't know where they are. They're all in-state Arkansas schools, but there's not really that big of a difference. It just comes down to the talent level and obviously how highly recruited these players are coming out of high school. But they, A scholarship's a scholarship, and getting your tuition paid to go to college and get a college education, and then also being able to play sports on top of that, that's a very, very high honor and a great opportunity for these kids and these athletes. Emperor of Rome mentioned some of the worst minor league baseball names. I have seen some of them. I have seen some, and I mean a handful, just all over the place. And, you know, a lot of minor league teams, they tend to do, here we go, we got it up now. A lot of teams, they tend to do, like, specialty nights. I know we've got one. I've seen a couple that do, like, for, like, half the season, they're one name, and for the other half, they're another name. And they have their, you know, giveaway nights and their promo nights and stuff like that. I can't even think of any off the top of my head personally. But, yes, they are certainly some of the worst teams or worst names ever. But, once again, who pays that much attention to minor league baseball? I mean, if you go to minor league baseball, you're going for one thing. You're going for the atmosphere. You're going for, you know, just to have some fun. You're not going there really to root for the team. Sure, you want the team to win that you're going for. You're not going to leave devastated or crushed like you would if you went to, you know, in Emperor of Rome's case, an Alabama football game. Yeah, I'd be pretty upset seeing my team lose. You're going to a minor league baseball game. You're going to eat and you're going to drink and you're going to have a good time. So I love going to baseball games, though, period. I don't care if it's major league, minor league. I don't care what it is. It's just the atmosphere. You know, they say it's America's pastime. It's America's sport. I think football is certainly slowly taking that title. I think, you know, if you polled a bunch of Americans now, you know, what is America's sport, they would say football more so than baseball. It's more exciting. It's got, I think, more fans. I think, obviously, I think baseball, you know, baseball's been around longer. It has a bigger history. But I think football, by far, beats out baseball. It does in my book. I'm sure it does in a lot of other people's books too. But still, great atmosphere, fun time, fun names, as Emperor of Rome wants to point out. So, I don't know if you guys have heard, and this is kind of on the football topic. We've talked a handful over these past couple of weeks on these live streams about the Alliance of American Football. And now there are rumors that the Alliance of American Football could be going under after just 1 year. I don't know if you guys have heard about that. Saying that the NFL Players Association, some discrepancy with them not allowing some of their lower tier players to come play in the Alliance of American Football, more like practice squad players. These guys aren't going to see the field during the NFL regular season, so why not get to go play in the AAF? And they're not letting them do that. So it's a big, you know, battle between the AAF and the NFLPA. And there's a chance that the Alliance could go under after 1 year, and that would be a major shock to me. And unfortunately, a lot of these startup leagues that I don't even think the AAF is trying to challenge the NFL by any means. It's just a lot of these startup football leagues don't last, and it's unfortunate. This is one that I thought had a lot of promise and one that I thought could really stick around for a while because, you know, you were taking, unlike some of the other leagues, you were taking players that had been in the NFL or were trying to get back in the NFL and trying to make another career for themselves. And they, you know, were on top. I mean, I'm just trying to get this. It's just a major shock to me. This was a good league. It's not all said and done yet. It's not a done deal that it's quit, that they're gonna quit. But I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts on that? I'd love to pick y'all's brain and see what you have to say about it. But there is a legitimate chance that it could end after just one season, and it certainly did seem to have a lot of promise. Big names in there, or former big names. You got Steve Spurrier in there as a coach, former NFL coaches in there, coaching these teams, trying to build these players back up and making another career for themselves. And some of these coaches trying to do the same thing. And I would be shocked to see it end after just one season. I know we have the XFL coming back here very soon. I don't know if that's going to last very long either. Everybody tries to do these startup leagues, and they usually end up failing, and it's very unfortunate for a lot of these clubs. And it's unfortunate for the fans too, because I personally have loved having football. I mean, practically year round. I mean, if you ask me, my life tends to revolve around sports, believe it or not, and you look at it. I kind of break it up into seasons. You got like around August. It's football season, man. You got August through about February because you count NFL and the Super Bowl. So when the Super Bowl ends, football's done, right? This is not including AAF stuff. Well, then you got college basketball. That's, of course, going to end about the first week of April with the national championship. Then you got NBA season, and that's going to carry you through about June to the NBA finals. Well, then, from about June to August, there's a lull there. And I know you can watch MLB, which I do keep up with Major League Baseball a little bit, not as much as I would do, say, basketball and football. But having, football year-round, that's exciting. Now you got the AAF carrying you through May. The XFL could go a little longer than that. Preseason starts back up in August. We're doing predictions in June. Boom, the ball's rolling again all the way to football season. So it just gets an endless cycle. So I've loved having it. Legalized Quack made a good point. Said it'll make him pretty sad if the AAF goes under. I would too. It's been a lot of fun. It's been intriguing to watch. I think it would be unfortunate to see a league that looked like it had a bunch of promise, a league that looked like it had a bunch of work put into it, go under after just 1 year not because of money issues, not because of no interest by the fans, because of a discrepancy between the league itself and the NFL Players Association. That would be very unfortunate, very stupid. But we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. It's not a done deal yet. It's just the likelihood is getting greater and greater by the day. But maybe they can work something out. I sure hope they do, because it's been a good league and very fun to watch. To wait and find out. So another thing going on today as well. Like I said, I know we don't have a lot of people in the chat right now. It's kind of hard to do in the middle of the day. Tonight, switching over just briefly, we got college basketball. We got the Sweet 16 begins tonight. Hope some of y'all's brackets are still intact. We talked about this on Tuesday a little bit. And I got mentioned on mine. My best bracket is 99.8% right now. And I've got a handful that I did have the entire Sweet 16 correct. So that's a plus. But we've got Gonzaga and Florida State tonight. I know we've got Virginia and Oregon, Michigan and Texas Tech. And there's one other game that's slipping my Tennessee and Purdue that are going to be playing tonight. So some big-time games. And I would lean as much to say that Virginia and Gonzaga will take care of business. The Tennessee-Purdue game is going to be very, very fun to watch, especially if Purdue plays as well as they did. Again, I think it was against Villanova. So they play that well against them. Tennessee, a team that struggled against Colgate and almost blew a 25-point lead to Iowa in the round of 32. And then we've got that Michigan-Texas Tech game, a game that I think Michigan should handle fairly easily. Texas Tech, a team that took care of Buffalo easier than I thought they would, but a team that is known for their defense, not so much their offense. And I think Michigan has both. And so I think it could be a low-scoring game, but I think Michigan owns the edge on the offensive edge of basketball, the scoring edge, and they're going to be able to take care of the Red Raiders. I would be pretty surprised, actually, if the Red Raiders beat Michigan and advance to the Elite Eight. So, of course, March Madness, it's going to be very fun to watch. Glad it's kicking back off again on this Thursday. We will know the Final Four by the end of Sunday. So it's an exciting time, and hopefully your brackets will continue to be doing well there. So we're going to keep our eyes on that. And I don't know if you guys have any teams that you are concerned about in this Sweet 16, or this March Madness has been pretty kind of uneventful, I feel like, in terms of the Cinderella teams, the upsets. We've had a couple good games. The Duke UCF game on Sunday night was unbelievable. A game that UCF probably should have won. Getting to see Taco Fall versus Zion Williamson, 1 versus 9 matchup, it was exciting. But we really haven't seen that many upsets this March, and we don't really have that team like we did, last year with Loyola Chicago, or like we've seen in the years past with like UConn making a run, Butler making a run, back-to-back national championship appearances, but couldn't get the win. Unfortunately for the Bulldogs. That was, of course, with Brad Stevens. George Mason, I think all the way back in 2006. So, it's not very often. We just didn't have a Cinderella team this year. You could consider Oregon one because they're a 12 seed. I think they should have been a higher seed. But I think Oregon's magical run will end tonight against Virginia. And Virginia, a team that's finally going to break through to the Elite Eight and maybe finally break through to the Final Four after they have struggled so much in years past, haven't been able to get there. Their path is easier than it has been to get to the Final Four than it has been in years past. You beat Oregon tonight, they're in the Elite Eight. Then I think they have to play Purdue or Tennessee, and I think they could be able to take care of either one of them. I think they're going to match up better against Purdue personally, but we'll have to wait and find out. MCD Sports 4, glad you're able to join us, man. not much is going on. Like I mentioned, it's going to be a somewhat shorter stream today, but glad you were able to join us middle of the day. I know it was kind of spur of the moment, and sometimes it can be tough to do middle of the afternoon. Emperor of Rome. Okay, you got back to me. A couple of these minor league baseball team names. Worst minor league names include Baby Cakes, Blue Wahoos, Jumbo Shrimp. Now, I have heard of that one. Mud Hens, Muck Dogs, Rubber Ducks, Rumble Ponies, Sod Poodles, and the Yard Goats. Man, that's... you know you're a minor league team when you've got names like that, man. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I love that. I know I wouldn't want to be... I mean, some of those are... You say worst, they're unique, that's for sure. You're going to remember them. I wouldn't want to be on a team known as Baby Cakes, I can tell you that. Maybe not Sod Poodles or Rumble Ponies. Jumbo Shrimp, that's just pretty funny. Muck Dogs, Blue Wahoos, that's a pretty cool name. But, yeah, man, that's wild. That's wild. I don't even know, minor league baseball is a lot of fun, guys. Like we were talking about earlier, it is a lot of fun. No one watches it. No one cares about it. If you have a team in your city and that's a minor league team, you're not gonna you're not gonna keep up to track with them. You're not gonna live and die by that team like maybe you would with a major league team like the Cardinals or the Yankees or Red Sox or whoever your team is in the MLB if you follow that. But minor league, you're just going for the experience, and it's cheaper, way cheaper, obviously, than going to an MLB game. So you got that benefit going for you. You can spur of the moment, middle of the day, go, yeah, I think I'm going to go down to the ballpark tonight. I'm going to watch a baseball game for $6 behind home plate. I mean, it's a great thing. Go buy yourself some hot dogs and a beer or whatever you want to drink, and it's fantastic. So that's funny though. That's some good time names right there. I love it. And as you can see, I'm still trying to get over this illness here. We're going to see how this live show goes today here on campus. Well, fingers crossed on that. So talking a little bit, moving over to the MCD Sports Foresight. He goes to a couple minor league games a year. I do the same thing where I live. I've got a team about 20 minutes out from where I live. And so in the summer, especially when there's not many sports going on, go late at night when it's getting cooler, 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night, starting to go cooler. It's a good time. Go over there with some buddies and just kick back and watch some baseball. Usually catch a foul ball every now and then. I don't care if the team wins or loses. It's just all about the experience. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you get like for me, I've gotten up like in the box seats a couple times. Know a couple people up there, so you get a box seat, and people are bringing you food, bringing you drinks, and you're sitting up there. So they're some of the best seats in the house. It's air conditioned. If it's too hot out there, you can sit inside and just relax in the couch in the lounge. So benefits to that too. So, but yeah, minor league baseball, good time, and that's one of the things I like to do in the summer. It kind of passes the time until we can really start devoting our time again to football. Speaking of which, we have a major announcement coming out in about a month, about 1 month from now. Yeah, so you're gonna want to stay tuned for that. We have a video that we've been in the works on, putting a lot of time and effort into, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. I know it's mean for me to sit here and talk about it the way I am and not telling you what it is, or discussing it any. But I'm thrilled about it. I think you guys are gonna like it a lot, and it's definitely gonna be getting us hyped for June and prediction season. So major announcement, major video coming out about a month. Towards the end of April, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And of course, I'll keep hyping that up as we get closer to time. So I just wanted to put that out there now, just to whet your appetite a little bit and maybe draw a little attention to it. Thomas Hunter, Wake Forest, are they going to go to their 4th consecutive bowl game next year? I would be inclined to say yes, and that's a fantastic job done with the Demon Deacons that Dave Clawson has done with his team. I wasn't too high on Wake Forest. I haven't been too high on Wake Forest on the past couple years. I don't think I was too high on them this past year. I can't remember what I predicted them going. I don't think it was great. I think I had them missing out on a bowl game. If I did have them go to a bowl game, it was not probably around 6 or 6, somewhere around there. But I would be inclined to say yes. Wake Forest is going to go to a 4th consecutive bowl game, and they're I wouldn't say competitors in the ACC, like where they're going to compete against the elite. I mean, because you think about the ACC now, guys. Clemson, obviously the king of the ACC. We've talked about that. There is not a team in the ACC right now that can compete against Clemson. Someone could have said Miami 2 years ago, but not anymore. Manny Diaz will build them back up and make them relevant again, but not right now. Virginia is up on the rise. Again, Bronco Mendenhall certainly has his team going in the right direction, but after the way they finished last year, and people they have coming back this year, Virginia, not going to be like a threat to challenge Clemson for the crown, but going to be a threat in the ACC this year. Wake Forest probably will make a fourth consecutive bowl game. Going to be looking good there. You're looking around. Virginia Tech usually is good. I know they didn't have the best of years this year, just barely making a bowl game. Obviously, you can credit injuries to some of that, but Virginia Tech is perennially a contender in the ACC. Pittsburgh every now and then. Duke loses Daniel Jones at quarterback, so they're going to have to replace him. So I wouldn't consider them to be top of the top or elite yet, but probably could be borderline bowl eligibility. An intriguing storyline there with Mac Brown taking over at North Carolina. Could they win their division? Could they be a competitor in the ACC in his first year back with the Tar Heels? They had a horrible year last year under Larry Fedora, so it's going to be interesting to see if maybe he can at least get them to a bowl game. That would be something. At least get them back to a bowl game. So we're gonna have to wait and find out about that. But I'm just rattling off ACC teams here. Who we say? Virginia, Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, Duke, North Carolina, Miami, Clemson, Georgia Tech. Obviously, you have a new coach there. New era after Paul Johnson left. They got rattled in their bowl game against Minnesota, but it's a new style of play. And like I said, it's a new era for the Yellow Jackets. So it's going to be interesting to see how they fare in the first year of the Jeff Collins era. I'm excited to see it, but I wouldn't consider Georgia Tech to be like once again a competitor or elite, like 8-9 wins yet, not in his first season. So it's going to take some time. And I know that all stemmed from Wake Forest. Are they going to go to their fourth consecutive bowl game? And I would say yes, but then I took it a step further and was talking about whether or not Wake Forest would be a legit competitor in the ACC. Thomas Hunter saying that Clawson said both quarterbacks are playing better than any time they were last year right now, and that's between, of course, Jamie Newman and Sam Hartman. Both played extremely well last year. If they're playing even better than they were last year, we got something to worry about. Now, quarterback play is so important in an ACC where they lost some talented quarterbacks. I mean, the ACC, I hate to say it, guys, is weak outside of a handful of teams. So Wake Forest could be poised for a very good year this year just because of the kind of weakness of their schedule, weakness of the conference right now. It's kind of down right now. A lot of teams are in rebuild mode. A lot of teams had a poor year last year and don't necessarily have high hopes for this year. You can't expect a team that maybe barely made a bowl game or missed out on a bowl game last year to immediately come back and win 8, 9, 10 games the next year. It's happened. It can happen, but you can't necessarily expect it. Legalized Quack, I'll miss the triple option. I think we all will. I mean, that was so much fun to watch there with Paul Johnson and Georgia Tech. And hard to stop, because you knew it was coming. That's the amazing thing. People knew. When you play those teams like Georgia Tech, Navy, Army, guys like that, you know what's coming. You know what they're going to do to you. And yet teams still couldn't seem to stop it. And that's why it was so fun to watch. Sometimes they could. Minnesota did a phenomenal job of that in their bowl game when they beat Georgia Tech, but it's still very difficult to stop. Army ran over everybody last year. Navy usually didn't have a good year last year, but usually takes care of business with their option style of offense. So I'm going to miss it too, and that was obviously ushered in by Paul Johnson when he was at Navy too. So it is unfortunate. Lots of eye candy, that's for sure too. Emperor of Rome, there was a professional Japanese baseball team called the Nippon Ham Fighters. Nippon Ham Fighters. If I'm pronouncing that right. Never watched Japanese baseball. Probably never will watch Japanese baseball. So, what they want to do over there, what they want to name their teams over there, by me. But that's wild, man. That's crazy. I'm pulling up some news here. Interesting storyline. I'd love to get y'all's opinion on here as well. If you follow college football news like I do, you get all the updates, you get all the alerts, you're doing research 24/7. It was announced just a few days ago, maybe it was yesterday. Oklahoma and Clemson have agreed to play a home and home series in 2035 and 2036. Border Bob, glad to see you, man. Howdy to you as well. Glad you were able to join us. But Oklahoma Clemson, home and home series 2035, 2036. I don't know. I have a problem with that. I think it's weird. Look, I'm all for scheduling, man. I think it's great to schedule ahead. It's great to schedule tough opponents. Right now, that matchup sounds great because Oklahoma and Clemson are both very talented playoff contenders, have been for the past couple of years, but we don't know what's going to happen in 16 years, 17 years. You know, those two teams could be horrible. Bottom of the ACC, bottom of the Big 12. Big 12 might not exist. And Porter Bob says I might be dead from old age by then. I mean, that's a long way out, guys. And you do have to schedule. I mean, there are a lot of teams. I'm not just criticizing Oklahoma and Clemson for this. A lot of teams have games scheduled for the next decade. I mean, your conference schedule is going to stay the same. You're going to play the teams within your division. The cross division games rotate. So that's on a rotation. And there's nothing they can do about that unless the league offices decide to do something about it. So your conference games are set, your non-conference games aren't, and you're seeing more teams now trying to schedule tougher non-conference opponents because that boosts your resume. Strength of schedule now matters with the playoff committee. You don't want to schedule all these cupcake teams because you're going to look at it and be like, well, but having those tough opponents out of non-conference, because you can't help who you play in your conference. We've had this discussion before. Strength of schedule plays a huge role, but I hate it when they say, it's because look at their strength of schedule. Well, look at their strength of schedule. Really, there are 4 games, depending on how many games you play, 3 or 4 games that a team can really help, and that's their non-conference schedule, who they arrange. And of course, every team's gonna schedule some of those cupcake teams because you got to get a couple wins in there. But you do schedule some tougher opponents now because it helps your strength of schedule, helps your resume. Scheduling so far down the road, though, I do not think it's a good idea. A lot of times those things fall through. We see that all the time. Games fall through. Excuse me, guys. Like I said, I'm still getting over this illness. I haven't been getting much sleep. But people do cancel these series. We've seen multiple instances of that. And then it happens closer to time, so that you've got a team that can't have that high-quality opponent there. Or if they cancel a year or two before, well then, down the road you do have your schedule set. So now you're stuck. You're scrambling to try to find somebody to schedule at the last second, and sometimes you're not going to get that high quality of an opponent like you would have. Say Clemson cancels on Oklahoma. Now Oklahoma's out. So was Clemson, but Clemson was the one that initiated it. And Clemson probably did it for good reason. So I don't like scheduling far out. Emperor of Rome agrees with me. I don't like scheduling that far ahead. Too many things can go wrong, and that's exactly my point. Now, I get you can't necessarily schedule a year beforehand. I get, when 2019 ends, you can't start scrambling then. Okay, who can we schedule for 2020 outside of conference play? You've got to have it set up for a couple years down the road, but not 16, 17 years down the road. That just seems a little, too much for me. And I'll pull up a couple examples right now. Let's take Alabama just for example. Obviously, Alabama, arguably one of the best teams. It is one of the best teams in college football right now. They have games scheduled with teams all the way through 2029. Obviously, like we said, they have conference play games. This year, of course, their non-conference consists of Duke, New Mexico State, Southern Miss, Western Carolina. 2020, they have USC. And I'm going to list the big-time games. They're big-time non-conference games. USC in 2020, Miami in 2021. 2022, they go to Texas. 2023, Texas comes to Tuscaloosa. They already have a game scheduled in 2025, so 6 years down the road with Louisiana Monroe. In 2026, they go to West Virginia. 2027, West Virginia goes to Tuscaloosa. In 2028, they go to South Bend and face Notre Dame. And in 2029, Notre Dame comes to Alabama. So, big time matchups right there for the Crimson Tide. And that's just the Crimson Tide, Alabama. But it is 10 years down the road already, and they have games scheduled against Notre Dame, West Virginia, and Texas. And the Texas matchup is great. That's only 3 years from now, 2022. So, that's fastly approaching. And like Emperor of Rome just mentioned, 3 to 4 years, perfect. Wouldn't go any farther than that. Too many things can go wrong. And right now, as I mentioned, that Oklahoma-Clemson game sounds fantastic. That sounds great. But we don't know how good those teams are going to be in 16, 17 years. They could both be great. They could both be struggling. They could both be the same they are now. They could both be mediocre. And also, I hate to say it, we don't even know what football is going to look like in 16, 17 years. A lot of rules being passed now, with, obviously injuries and looking to prevent injuries. And like I said, I am all for that. I hate seeing players' careers end. I hate seeing players get hurt, whether it's a concussion or whether, it's broken bones or torn ACLs, whatever it is. It is not good. But there's something to be said for it still being football. And while I'm all for player safety and all for keeping people safe, it is football. You're going to get hit. People are going to get hurt. You're going to have bumps. You're going to have bruises. You're going to have broken bones. You're going to have swelling. You're going to have cramps. It's going to happen. But people are pushing farther and farther now that maybe in 16, 17 years, I think we're still going to have football, but it might not look the same like the same football we have right now. You see that now with these roughing the passer calls and these targeting calls and all that. And I agree with the targeting calls sometimes. But sometimes I look at them like that wasn't even close. He couldn't help that. Or that wasn't even targeting. Why are we calling that? So, we don't know what the teams are going to look like. We don't know what the setting is going to look like. We don't know what the sport's even going to look like. Because a lot of things can change. As Emperor of Rome said, a lot of things can go wrong between now and then. And so I don't think it's that great to schedule that far ahead. Comic Dude 45, glad you're able to join us, and he says he doesn't have a problem with it. You got to call dibs when you can, and I think that's great. Like I said, it's all for scheduling those big time non-conference opponents. We just use Alabama as an example, so that's great that that Texas matchup for them was announced a couple years ago. Maybe it was last year, 2 years ago. So that's great that they scheduled matchups with Texas and West Virginia and Notre Dame, big time matchups. So right now you've got them on your schedule. It's locked in. It ain't going to change. So you called dibs and it's looking good. But like we said, we don't know what can change. Anything can happen. And you're right. You got to call dibs when you can. That way no one else snatches them up, because a team like Texas wouldn't want to play in Alabama and Georgia in the same year. Intriguing matchups, absolutely. But those would be 2 very good wins for Texas. And I'm just using them as an example. But 2 very good wins for Texas, but could also be 2 losses for Texas and automatically almost ruin their playoff chances. Because while there was good losses, they would practically have to run the table the rest of the way, go 10-2, win the Big 12. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to schedule, there's something to be said for strength of schedule, but you don't want to have that strong of a schedule. That's why teams tend to schedule 1 decent non-conference opponent. The rest are cupcake teams from those Group of 5 school opponents, Group of 5 conferences that they should beat. Sometimes they get upset, but should beat. And if they're lucky, they beat their good non-conference opponent and then run through conference play, hopefully have a good record through there. It's a really, really interesting concept. And it amazes me. It really does amaze me that people can arrange that so far down the road. Why they choose it to do so far down the road, I don't know. I know, like I said, for the next couple of years, those schedules are mostly set. And you only have a handful of non-conference games. So, you got to take advantage of it the best you can, but also not putting your team in danger of doing poorly and losing the majority of their non-conference games, because odds are most teams will lose once in conference play. Not always. Teams like Clemson, Alabama, sometimes Ohio State, guys like that, they go through undefeated. But upsets do happen. Border Bob, how much and how soon do I think AI will be a large part of football officiating? I would say, was it 2019 now? I would say maybe in the next 5 years. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to be purely all AI officiating, but it will play a major role. And like right now we have, it's not AI, but we have the camera angles that we have for these college football games are absolutely amazing. You've got your normal camera angle that you're watching as the game goes on, but you've got the pylon cams, you've got the goal line cams, you got the skyline, you've got every single angle, possible angle you could ask for that allows the officials to make a good call, whether a guy crossed the goal line, or the ball crossed the goal line, or whether a guy caught the ball down the sideline, fumble, interception, whatever it is. Camera angles are great. There is something to be said for human error. That's what we have in referees right now. But I think it is a risky business, though. They've talked about having AI like in baseball, because you have the umpires out there that aren't calling strikes when they should be strikes, or aren't calling balls when they should be balls, and they're like, if we put AI out there, they're not going to make mistakes. Well, they could. They never could. People are going to make mistakes. Robots will make mistakes, believe it or not. Comic Dude said, and he agrees, today's refs are human and have biases. Hopefully AI doesn't get programmed with human bias. And I think it would be better. I almost think it would be better to have AI, because I do think there are some referees that are biased. I think there is something to be said for home field and home court advantage, that referees do tend to sway a little bit with the home crowd. It's true. It's very possible. They call it home cooking for a reason. And I'm not saying that when you go to on an away game that the refs are out to get the visiting team. No, not true. But there have been multiple instances where we have seen very, very bad calls, blatant bad calls, or no calls, and that have prevented a team from winning or putting them in a position to win. So I would say in the next 5 years we could have AI, and I think it will play a very major role. And I think, but before you see that become such an integral part of the game, I think they're going to test it out first. They'll test it out Mike Myrick, good to see you, man. Go Noles as always. And man, I'm feeling better than I was on Tuesday. We're still getting over this thing. Still got a cough, still very exhausted, but hey, feeling a lot better. Glad to see you. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. But as I was saying about AI, they're going to test it first. You might see AI tested in spring games. Or if you go to the NFL, you might see it tested in preseason. Games that don't matter, before they take it and put it into a regular season game or a postseason game or something like that. So I would say within the next 5 years. And but they're going to have to test it first. And if it works well when they're testing it in games that don't matter and just kind of exhibition games that don't mean anything, that can play a major role for a team, well then, if it goes well, then you can then we might be able to see a lot more of it in big-time games. Emperor of Rome, some bad high school team names. He's on a kick today, man, with these bad names. We talked about minor league teams, high school team names, battling bathers, fighting planet, hot dogs, Nimrods, Obazags, purple pounders, Satans, syrup makers, thunder chicken, and the wooden shoes. I love it. Thunder chicken, man, that might be one of my favorite. And fighting planet. I love that too. Commodore 45, refs were heavily biased against us last season in basketball. They view us as the scarlet-headed stepchild of the Big Ten. Absolutely pathetic. Get off your knees, ref. You're blowing the game. I feel for you, man. I feel for you over with Rutgers basketball, apparently. I understand plenty. I think you would be lying to say that your team, all of us here, your team has never been screwed over by the referees at some point, or you've never sat there and said that, we lost that game because of the referees, or we lost that game because of this call, or that because that call wasn't made. I think you'd be lying if you said that you've never said that or that's never happened to you. I think it's all happened to our team at least once, and it's very, very, very frustrating. Mark Dudley, good to see you. Glad you're able to join us. Saying that AI can make mistakes, glitches, viruses, getting hacked. And that is something certainly to be of concern now. We're living in an age now where people like you and me are very, very talented in that realm of hacking and doing the technology and computer coding and everything like that. I'm not an expertise in that. I don't know enough about that, but there are people that do know a lot about that. So there is that chance of hacking into a system and screwing up the AI system, or screwing up whether that would make them make bad calls, or maybe make them shut down, where they would have to program. I don't know what they would do to fix that, but there's that concern of hackers. That's a real thing, a real threat now. People are extremely talented. It's scary to think about the amount of people that can do stuff like that. It is a scary deal. And I do think if we ever switched over to AI, you would have referees in the building, in the stadium, like on standby. So if the AI started screwing up, got hacked, got a virus, shut down, whatever, you would have those referees there to kind of fill in, like as substitutes. They have backup referees. In football, you get a referee that gets, run over by a running back, or gets crushed between a receiver or something like that, and he's injured. They got to have a backup out there. So they do have backup referees at those games. We would have those for AI too. It would I assume that's what they would do. Border Bob, there's a high school team near me called the Golden Boll Weevils. Now, that's a heck of a name. As I mentioned in the last live stream, that's ironic. Border Bob, if you don't mind me asking, what state are you from? Because we have one, like I said, here in Arkansas, where I'm from, University of Arkansas at Monticello. They are the Boll Weevils as well. So that's not a very common name. That's a college, of course, but not a very common name. Very, very odd name. Golden Boll Weevils, especially. So that's interesting. Man, these weird names, man, I get a kick out of them. It's pretty odd. But yeah, it's an interesting topic, guys. The AI with the referees. We've talked about that before. With some bad calls have been made, and the one play that I think will stand in our minds for right now and for a very, very long time down the road is certainly that Saints play, the Saints and Rams NFC Championship game, the no call there. And now the NFL just passed a rule where they will, I think just for this year, just to test it, will be able to review offensive pass interference, defensive pass interference, no calls, stuff like that. And I don't know if that's going to be good for the game or not, guys. Personally, I know some people will appreciate that and think that's a good thing, but and it will be if it benefits your team. But you think about it, guys. There are many instances where we spend a lot of time at the monitors in football trying to review, if a catch was complete, or if a guy fumbled, or if the touch, if he got both feet in. This is NFL. If it's a touchdown or not. And now I feel like they're gonna be practically every play is going to be reviewed, because look, there's holding on every play. We know, and I know they're not reviewing holding, but we know we have to agree there's holding on every play. There is. The refs didn't always see it, but there's holding on every play. It happens. And now we're in an era where we're going to be able to review offensive and defensive pass interference and whether it was a no call or not. So when there was just the slightest chance of a pass interference call, we're going to have to go to the monitors and review it. And I don't really know if that's a good thing. Mark Dudley, I really appreciate that. Just donated with the super chat, contributed with the super chat. That means a lot. As I've mentioned, guys, it's always available. Means a lot. Goes a long way. Really, really appreciate it. So thank you, Mark, for that and your constant support. That means a lot. And Border Bob, I saw you said South Carolina, so not even too close to me here in Arkansas. So that's interesting, but pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. Mark, thank you again. Do I have a favorite college football conference? I really don't. I'm going to be quite honest with you. As I've said before, man, here at the Gridiron Expert, we are not biased towards any team or conference. If I was, that would not be good for, and I say business. It wouldn't be good for business. It wouldn't be good for this channel, because if I was leaning towards one team more than the other, or leaning towards one conference more so than the other, it wouldn't be much fun. I'd make it a channel dedicated all towards the SEC, or one dedicated all towards the Big Ten, or whatever it is. I'm a huge fan of college football, period. I love college football, period. I think if I had to have a favorite college football conference solely based on the competition, I would say SEC, because the SEC is a conference where teams just beat each other up. SEC has been the dominant conference for so long, and I would say that the Big Ten is on the rise to threaten them as the number 2 conference in college football, because you've got Michigan, Michigan State at times, Ohio State, Penn State, Minnesota. Some people are giving a lot of hype this year, could be considered. Iowa is usually a pretty good contender. Wisconsin, for the most part, had a bad year last year. For the most part, is a contender. So I would say the Big Ten is the biggest thing. Is the biggest thing there. I would say SEC in terms of competition, just watching that, because they beat each other up. Alabama, LSU, Auburn, Texas A&M now making a rise. Mississippi State and Ole Miss are usually fairly decent, had decent years in the past. Arkansas even had decent years in the past. It's going to have to take a while now to build back up there. Over in the East, you've got Georgia, Florida now threatening Georgia in the East. Tennessee on the rise. Kentucky just came out of nowhere last year and kind of shocked everybody. So the SEC, in terms of its competition, in terms of how the way they beat each other up, probably my favorite conference in terms of to watch, but I really don't have a preference. And I saw your comment trying to assume your favorite program by conference didn't work. It's a good try, though. It's a good try. I had a feeling that's what you were going for, but it's my honest answer. I don't dance around the question. That's my honest answer. So, but good try. And once again, really do appreciate that contribution of the super chat. That does mean a lot. It goes a long way for me. Emperor of Rome, some bad college names. So we started off with minor league baseball teams, bad names there. Bad high school team names. Now we're up to bad college names. We've got Blue Hose. I don't even know what that is. Eutectic, Fighting Koalas, Geoducks, Gorlocks, Lord Jeffs, and the Rainbow Warriors. The Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, of course. Not insulting anyone here, but that sounds like a gay pride parade. That's from Comic Dude 45. Hawaii, I've been there. Beautiful place. Been to Aloha Stadium. Beautiful place as well. I used to play the Pro Bowl there, of course, where Hawaii plays their college football games. But Lord Jeffs, that's something. Fighting Koalas. Koalas aren't very vicious. Gorlocks, Geoducks, Blue Hose. Wow. Some very wild college names there. Obviously, the majority of those being not Division I would assume. And Comic Dude 45, Golden Flashes doesn't sound sexual at all. Hey, Kent State, man, you say what you want about Kent State. And another contribution from Mark Dudley, man. I appreciate even more. That's two already from $4.99, if I'm not mistaken, and that means a lot as well. So thank you, man. I appreciate the contributions from all of you guys that have done that. The super chat is always available. It means a lot. He says, good answer. Maybe a career in politics is in your future. People have told me that, man. People have told me that. I'm very meticulous in my answers, man. I got to think things through. I got to, I don't like to dance around the question, but I'm always careful with the way that I answer questions as well when I'm put on the spot. So people have said that. I don't know if I'd want to go into politics, though. People, nowadays in politics, you put your name out there, and they dig up every little thing about you. I think I would enjoy it. I think I'd enjoy the politics spotlight, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. If this sports career doesn't pan out, if this doesn't go anywhere, maybe we'll have to pursue that. Maybe I can count on y'all's vote one day if need be. But yeah, but I appreciate the contribution, Mark. I appreciate your feedback. I appreciate everything. Chris Smith, why are we talking about politics? It was a comment, Chris, from Mark Dudley here. That's why he mentioned maybe I had a career in politics in my future because of the way I answer my questions, of course. Well, I can assure you we'll never sit here and talk about politics on Gridiron Expert. This is a place where you have to get away from that type of stuff. And for those of you that didn't know, Emperor of Rome just wants to make it clear that Geoduck is a type of clam. So that's interesting. Not what I would have thought with the name Geoduck, but all right, interesting. Weird name. Politics will destroy you. It stresses you out. Wrinkles your face. Just ask Obama. Call it Dude 45. Well, I'll end it there. I'll end the politics path there. He says don't go down that path. I'll take your word for it. I agree. I don't think I would. I don't think I'd enjoy that much either. So we're gonna stick with what we're doing right here. That's what I prefer. Keep the skin smooth, somewhat low stress. So. Yeah, that sounds like a better plan to me. And I appreciate that, Comic Dude, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate your constant feedback and support. You guys have been here since day one, so I certainly do appreciate that and everything you guys have done here for us. Well, guys, like I mentioned, I said it would be somewhat of a shorter chat. We're running about 50 minutes right now, and I'm about to have to bolt. Actually, I said it was Casual Thursday. I'm actually have to don the suit and tie again and bolt ever to my other show here on campus. Of course, I think a couple of you guys actually caught that a couple weeks ago, so I appreciated that. I know I hate to leave it. I know. What we'll probably do is I'm going to have some content out here this weekend, so we won't be too far along Comic Dude 45. You won't have to go too long without me. We'll have a content video up this weekend talking some college football, and another live stream, of course, coming your way on Sunday night or Sunday afternoon. Just check Twitter at Gridiron Expert for that. Christopher Smith, have you ever thought about doing a week by week for my college? Not necessarily, man. I really haven't. That's something that I could look into, doing something here for Arkansas State. Analysis for that, but I don't know if we'll go that route. We prefer to stay, even though this is where I go to school, stay unbiased and try to focus on the widespread of all college football. I mean, we might do that, especially as we get closer to football season. When I come back up here on campus for football season, we might dive in a little bit on that. We can probably get some good footage for you guys if you're interested in that. But right now, that's not necessarily on our list of things to do. But if that's something that interests you, we can certainly make it happen. And Border Bob, thank you for your contribution as well. Like I said, every little bit helps us out more than you guys know. It means a lot. Your constant support, your contribution. So thank you. South Carolina has 2 poultry teams: Gamecocks, Chanticleers, Coastal Carolina, and South Carolina. So there you go. So I'm sorry to cut it short, guys. I appreciate all the support, appreciate the feedback, appreciate the comments today. Final live stream of the week. Stay tuned. Tomorrow or Saturday, we will have some content out for you guys. We have a couple videos in the works already, so I will have those out very, very soon. So we can get some college football talk going. Sunday rolls around. We're going to be back here for another live stream, and we're just going to keep it going, of course, till our big time announcement comes out in about a month from now. So you're not going to want to miss that, and I'll continue to hype that up for a very, very long time. Mark Dudley, Emperor of Rome, thank you guys for stopping by. We will catch you guys later. You guys have a good rest of the day, and we will see you again.